When will Barack Obama say sorry? And when will Joe Biden say sorry? In fact, when will the whole left, from the politicians and the journalists to the global warming activists, when will they say sorry to Ukraine for selling it out? For making the US and Europe so shockingly weak that no wonder Vladimir Putin thought he could waltz in to the Ukraine. You know, for years the media told us it was actually Donald Trump who was the big menace. You know, Trump had sold out to Russia. It was a Russian pawn, a tool, basically a traitor. People like CNN's Rachel Maddow, they couldn't stop talking about it.
Russia, Moscow, Russian, Russia, Putin, Russian against us.
So where are they now with their Russia? I mean, are they holding Obama to account? Are they flaying Joe Biden for being so pathetically, disastrously, dangerously feeble? You see, Donald Trump made a good point this week as the Russian tanks rolled into eastern Ukraine. This is before the actual bombing started, with President Joe Biden saying, gosh golly, Putin should, well, he probably will soon invade all of Ukraine. Who'd have thought? Well, Trump put out a statement boasting, I know Vladimir Putin very well, and he would never have done during the Trump administration what he is doing now. No way. And I've got to say, on the evidence, it is hard to disagree. Go back to the president before Trump, Barack Obama, hero of the left. Obama, so cool, so hip, a real media favourite. He actually told the then outgoing Russian President Dmitry Medvedev, this is just before his re-election campaign. Now, Medvedev, you remember, was actually Putin's pawn, just keeping the seat warm so Putin could come back and take it back from him while he served out the time as Prime Minister. He warned Medvedev, Obama did, not to push him too hard on defence issues before that re-election campaign in 2012. He said, look, before the election, I don't have much flexibility to give you the kind of things you might want. After the election, different story. And Medvedev said he'd pass on to Putin that message.
Yeah, after my election, I have more flexibility.
I understand. I transmit this information to Vladimir and understand what.
And then a few months later, during that re-election campaign against the Republicans' Mitt Romney, Barack Obama mocked Romney for insisting that Russia was still America's top geopolitical foe. Obama made a big joke about that. The media high-fived him for being so smart and modern.
Because a few months ago, when you were asked what's the biggest geopolitical threat facing America, you said Russia. Not Al-Qaeda, you said Russia. In the 1980s are now calling to ask for their foreign policy back because, you know, the Cold War's been over for 20 years.
Now, the Russian president is not an idiot. Putin's a murderer, but is not an idiot. And he knew from all that Obama and the Democrats are pushover. And 2 years later made a fool of Obama by sending his soldiers in to steal the Crimea from Ukraine down in the south. That was back in 2016. And pro-Russian militias also grabbed parts of two eastern areas, Donetsk and Luhansk. And just to give Putin even more confidence, Obama months later made clear not just that the US would not send a single US soldier to defend Ukraine, that country actually wasn't a big deal strategically to the US. He told The Atlantic magazine in 2016, the fact is that Ukraine, which is a non-NATO country, is going to be vulnerable to military domination by Russia no matter what we do. And this is an example of where we have to be very clear about what our core interests are and what we are willing to go to war for. You may say, fine, that makes sense. Why risk a single American soldier? But Putin would have said, thanks, that's a green light, as long as the Democrats are in charge. Of course, when Donald Trump then surprised everyone and became president, Putin did take one more step in Ukraine. I mean, with Trump, he's such a wild guy, such a bully, Putin would have figured that Trump could do anything, you know, give Russia a real punch in the nose if it did take more of Ukraine. So no, he waited until Joe Biden, Obama's doddery old vice president, replaced Trump. And Putin saw, like the rest of us did, how Biden would do anything to avoid a fight, including, well, he ran out of Afghanistan so fast and with so little planning that the Taliban just strolled in and took it all over. Now, To a thug like Putin, the message was obvious. There's no fight in that Biden dog. And if there was any doubt about that, Biden let slip last month that if Putin did exactly what is now done, sent in his tanks to the eastern parts of Ukraine, occupied by pro-Russian militias, the US wouldn't do much at all.
Russia will be held accountable if it invades, and it depends on what it does. It's one thing if it's a minor incursion and then we end up having a fight about what to do and not do, etc.
So how can anyone now be surprised that Putin has done exactly what he has, including now a full-scale attack on Ukraine, and done it with Joe Biden in the White House? And it's not just that Biden and Obama before him have shown minimal interest in actually doing something real to stop Putin. It's that whole projection of weakness, of that fundamental lack of seriousness of the United States of America, at least under Democrat rule. It's the identity politics, the race politics, wars over pronouns, appointing senior officials like the openly non-binary and, let's be frank, the rather kinky Sam Brinton, now the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Spent Fuel and Waste Disposition. He's in the nuclear business. Nuclear nuts, maybe. Now, how can Putin fear a United States whose once feared CIA is now so into victim politics that it publishes recruitment videos like this?
I'm a woman of color. I am a mom. I am a cisgender millennial who's been diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. I am intersectional, but my existence is not a box-checking exercise. I stand here today a proud first-generation Latina and officer at CIA. I am unapologetically me. I want you to be unapologetically you, whoever you are. Know your worth. Command your space. Mija, you're worth it.
So how could Putin, how could China, how could they take the US defense establishment seriously with that and with the running away from Afghanistan? Now, I know that a lot of this weakness has been disguised by lots of bluster, you know, from the US and from some of Europe. We're really going to go for Russia. Putin's a monster. He must be stopped.
So you know Vladimir Putin. You think he's a killer?
Mm-hmm. I do.
You know, it was one of America's better presidents, Theodore Roosevelt, who said, "Speak softly and carry a big stick." Well, Joe Biden has done exactly the opposite. He's talked big and carried a toothpick. And that's limited his options for a diplomatic solution, while letting Russia know there won't actually be a military response if he goes the hard way and sends in the army. After demonising Russia so much, with the media left's help, for so long, there was no way that Biden could give Putin anything that might buy him off, if, in fact, Putin was for turning. One suggests that maybe this man has got, like Hitler, a reconquest on his mind, and it doesn't matter what you would have thrown in him, whatever. And the sanctions Joe Biden has now announced after all his threats, they've been weak so far. They clearly didn't work. The ones he imposed after Putin sent in forces to the eastern parts of Ukraine, the rebel-held territories, Putin looked at them, laughed, and ordered a full-on invasion. And anyway, were they ever going to work? I doubt it, and not just because Putin has, in the years recently, made his economy almost sanction-proof. For example, he's got Russia to grow all its own basic foods now. It's no longer reliant on imports. No, it's more than that. Also, the problem here, the US and Europe don't even dare hit Russia with serious sanctions, like stopping its exports of oil and gas that they've been real big earners for Putin. Cut them off, you'd have a lot less money. And the reason that Europeans and Joe Biden haven't even thought of that, because those bans would actually hurt Europe and the US economies even more. I mean, you look at Europe. The green movement there has closed coal-fired power stations. It's closed nuclear stations. It's banned or limited fracking. It's made the West weak. Joe Biden has shut down pipeline from Canada, and America still imports then oil from Russia. Can you believe it? And then that's all made the West, and particularly Europe, dependent on energy from Russia. No wonder they can't shut it down. Blame the left for all that madness as well. Sooner or later, you know, Ukraine will fall. And that's in part because the left has made the West too weak to do a thing about it.